Alrighty, everyone, welcome back to another live stream here on the channel. Hopefully everyone is having a fantastic Thursday. I cannot believe we are already halfway through January. It is January 15th, 2026. Can't believe we are already well past now the second week of 2026, which is absolutely insane. Or actually, we are well past the first week and almost into the end of the second week here. Yeah, it's weird because New Year's Day was like what? I forgot exactly what day it was, but it started, I think it was like midweek, so you can't actually count that one. So let's see what we have here in the chat. We have Caleb, who of course made the cringy joke. And actually, Caleb, you simply just missed like almost, I think it was like a two and a half, about 2 hour live stream earlier this year. So that's on you. I've already been live this year. Legacy, welcome to the stream. Moon, Sam, Kevin, Christian, as well as Haley, Camp, and everyone else who is watching and may not be chatting, or if I missed you and you are chatting, glad to have you here. All right, let's switch on over. We are at a 0 out of 5 today for severe weather. There's really no severe weather to talk about. We've had an isolated severe threat or two over the last 3 weeks, but really in terms of the last 2 weeks, we've had almost next to nothing. We had those severe threats I wasn't able to cover. I think it was over the weekend this week / last week, I believe it was, about a week ago, almost a week ago. Was when those severe weather threats were starting to kick off there across the central and southern U.S. And we did get a couple tornadoes. If you guys remember, I did talk about on Twitter, a few tornadoes did occur out there in Oklahoma. And then we did have I don't think we had many tornadoes the following day. I think it was really an overnight event. Yeah, we had about 5 tornadoes in Oklahoma, which is pretty crazy for early January. And then going into January 9th, an overnight event, we actually had about 10 tornadoes. So could even call it a regional tornado outbreak in south central Mississippi on January 9th. And then we did have a spin-up tornado or two. There were, I believe it was 2 tornadoes on the border of eastern Alabama and western Georgia on the 10th, and then nothing on the 11th, the 12th, the 13th, the 14th, the 15th, and we're going to continue with that trend of 0 reports for the next couple of days, if not the next couple of weeks, to be honest with you. We may have one I almost want to say two, but one or two risks for severe weather for second season remaining. One of them is probably going to be towards the end of January, and then we'll probably have one somewhere in February, but really not going to be seeing a whole lot of severe weather anytime soon. So Legacy, also welcome to the stream. Legacy Dragon. Let's see. Haywood. Um, let's see if I missed anybody. Perez as well. Welcome to the stream. Jefferson. Hopefully I welcomed everybody. If I didn't, just say something in the chat and I will. Hopefully I did. Alrighty, let's go ahead and switch over to our current radar here. Christian, also welcome to the stream. I might have welcomed you. If not, welcome again. So this is our current radar here. We're dealing with quite the snow squalls across the far north central plains here in the U.S. These flashing blue and white boxes are snow squall warnings in effect at the moment. If we go to our high resolution radar, really not that impressive with this one. This is a dying out snow squall here, so that's why that snow squall warning was canceled for the northern areas. And now it's turned into a much smaller area for a snow squall warning. And then we don't have, this is a Canadian radar, which isn't the most high resolution, but we do have a bit of snow squalls back up here too. Really the good snow squalls show up as like yellow DBZ on this. And you can see maybe a little bit stronger of a snow squall in here. We'll switch to precipitation. Yeah, it does look like that is a snow squall. There's no a mixed CC in here, so I doubt that it is a mixed precipitation. It's likely complete snow right there. Hold on. I wonder if it's been a hot minute since I've been live, so let me just make sure. Yeah, ads automators are off. It's turned to ads at the beginning and then the end of the stream, so I don't know. YouTube doing its own thing. So I take no offense to that. Legacy, that's just stupid old YouTube for you right there. And then we do have some winter storm warnings up here in western New York. Lake effect snow squall, or rather, lake effect snow warning in effect up for Cleveland, Ohio, northwestern PA. And then just some scattered winter weather advisories. They did recently issue all of these winter weather advisories, as we do have a very small clipper system. I really don't think we'll see a whole lot here. Yeah, it's for blowing snow. That's really what it's for. So it's because some of y'all have snow still on the ground, and we could get another inch or two of snow. But the big concern is that we could have wind gusts upwards of 60 miles per hour and sustained winds upwards of about 45 miles per hour. So the concern is those short-term blizzard-like conditions out here. Not necessarily, we're not really concerned for the additional 1 to 2 inches of snow, more for the blowing snowfall because of those high wind gusts that will be affecting visibility quite drastically over the next day or so. And I do want to see here. I know a lot of you guys are going to be wondering about the snowstorm potential in the southeastern U.S. We're going to go over a whole bunch of stuff for that. This is the WSSI outlook for the next 3 days. So this includes today, Thursday, as well as Friday and Saturday. So this doesn't include Sunday, but you can see they do have, which I find it a little strange, the WPC is actually a bit confident, I would almost say, in widespread and minor impacts here across portions of the southeastern U.S. And to be honest, this is an outlier. The official outlook here is honestly a bit of an outlier, to be honest with you. Really, the only thing that shows this widespread of a snowstorm or widespread impacts is probably the NAM model. The RRFSA is also one that shows it, but in terms of our more global models and stuff like that, really no global model shows a widespread snowstorm. Those more regional models like the NAM does show a bit better of a snowstorm, and the RRFSA is what shows the biggest snowstorm, which honestly don't think we'll be seeing a whole lot out here. We'll dive into all the models, but honestly, it's probably going to change drastically. I don't know if that will shift towards a more uptrend per se ordeal there for the southeastern U.S. or a downtrend, but I do know we'll be getting better data tomorrow because we have hurricane hunters are going to be flying in this system 2 times. They're going to be flying in this system, I believe, tonight, and then it might be actually tomorrow night and Saturday night. I think it's tomorrow night and Saturday night. They will be flying into this system. So we should get better data for our 0Z models tomorrow. And then Saturdays where we should have our really good models in and really be able to figure out what's happening here. So let me show you that more high-end scenario here. This is the, I don't know if this is going to be the one that shows it. No, it's not. Okay, let's go to this. This will be the one that shows. Actually, no, because that's 21Z. I'm rusty. We got to go to the 18Z RRFSA here. So this is our high-end scenario from the RRFSA model run. And you can see right here. So this is getting into, let's see when this is getting into. This is getting into late Saturday, early Sunday. And really, even, there you go, really starts to spark up there Sunday morning. That's when it really starts to spark up. Not much on this higher end scenario for like eastern Louisiana or southern Mississippi. Really sticks for Alabama, Georgia, and then especially the Carolinas up into the mid-Atlantic. That would be a pretty good snowstorm to remember for 2026. That would be a pretty good start for us out here in the mid-Atlantic and into the northeastern U.S., and a very, very widespread snowstorm at that. Heavy snow all the way from Mobile, Alabama, all the way back up into Nova Scotia, into Maine and New Brunswick up there. So very, very widespread heavy snowfall there on our high-end model run. Let's go to a more realistic scenario here, which is probably, I'm trying to think. I don't know if we have, okay, we don't have that model run, just had to check just in case. I guess we'll have to go with the GFS. I know, but the GFS is probably a little bit more of a realistic scenario in this case, where it doesn't have a very widespread snowstorm, but it still does have some isolated flurries out here going into this is Saturday night. Saturday night, it still has some isolated flurries for Alabama. Probably nothing for Mississippi. And then it really does start to act up with a bit better chances for some flurries out here in Georgia, South Carolina. And then the heaviest snow really stays back up into North Carolina, Virginia, and Delaware, maybe even a bit of Maryland in there. So I think that is probably the more likely case scenario, is we'll really have to watch the secondary area in this region. Gracious day. In this region, that's probably going to be the main area to watch, because if this does end up being a quicker system like the GFS has, this being still Sunday morning and the snowstorm's already starting to exit the coastline, then you guys would have the best chance for snowfall there in eastern NC, eastern Virginia, into southern Delaware and southeastern Maryland. And this really doesn't show much for the New England states, but it definitely does bring at least some flurries, maybe some isolated measurable snowfall up there in Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and Connecticut. So let's go ahead and pull this out further here and see what the snow depth is. So this shows, yeah, an inch at best. That's what I'd be saying too, probably. And the thing about the New England states is there's a lot of uncertainty back up there. This does have about an inch or so. Now, this is snowfall depth here, so it's not actually accounting for how much snow actually falls. And I really don't like this. So how we don't have any other snowfall products on here. So, you know what we're going to do? We are going to go switch to the GFS model run on College of DuPage. And this will give us a better snowfall total. So there you go. You can see the GFS model run. Again, really painting eastern NC, eastern Virginia, southeastern Maryland, also into Delaware there as well. A little sliver of New Jersey, but really not a whole lot there. And then a little areas back up in the New England states. But there's a lot of uncertainty with this storm. And I'd say it's probably one of the most uncertain storm systems of the year at the moment. Or rather, for winter, I should say, because the year is only 14, 15 days in here. So for the whole entire winter season, this is probably one of the more uncertain ones because we are 2.5, almost 3 days out from this system impacting the southeastern U.S. and models keep flip-flopping. Like this was our run really early this morning. Ensembles, mind you, are ensemble runs, which are typically much better than deterministics. And that is what it painted, a very large swath of 2 to 6 inches of snow, actually all the way down from southern Mississippi, eastern Louisiana, all the way up into the New England states, even maybe some isolated areas even higher than that on some ensembles there, eastern Massachusetts. And then watch all of this just disappear with the new run. Poof. Everything's gone. You get, like I said, a little trace of some snowfall in here, an inch or two. Maybe isolated spots a little higher than that. But really, next to everything is gone. Now, it still does have, again, some flurries out for Alabama, maybe possibly even into Florida, also into Georgia, South Carolina. But really, any type of good snow is going to be back out there in NC and Virginia on this particular run. So honestly, straightforward with you, we have no idea. No idea what is going to happen with this snow system. It has a lot of uncertainty with it because there is a lot of variables with it and a lot of different outputs with it. And the trough as a whole just has a lot of uncertainty. I mean, you could see big differences between the GFS and the Euro. The Euro is way more to the southwest, and it's also, I believe the Euro is, it's not too far less amplified, but it is a bit further south, which probably keeps, and indeed does keep, much of the moisture probably offshore. And you may be thinking, looking at this, is this a snowstorm for Florida? No. No, it's not. In reality, your temperatures are still in the low to mid 40s across Florida, and then maybe into the upper 30s across the coastal areas. That wouldn't be snow, that would be rain. So therefore, the European model run really doesn't have snow anywhere except for a very tiny area, which I'm sure this will be gone probably by tonight's run, if not tomorrow morning's run. A little sliver there of some accumulation in Georgia and Florida, and then just a few areas of trace of snowfall in the coastal areas. So completely different models, man. Completely different between the models this morning, which painted, this is the GFS deterministic, even upwards of 9-10 inches of snow in the northeastern U.S., upwards of 6 inches of snow in Alabama, upwards of 7 inches of snow out there in North Carolina and Virginia, and then go to our newest one, and it, again, it's just wiped off the face of the earth right there. Just gone. Is it a Carolina storm? I don't know whose storm it's going to be. Honestly, it could end up being nobody's storm, and it could just end up being a complete underperformance and a complete a bust for a snowfall event. Or it could end up being an event for Georgia, a Georgia snowstorm, or a Virginia, North Carolina snowstorm, or possibly even a New England snowstorm there, like the Canadian model run really doesn't have much snowfall at all for the southern or eastern U.S. until you get up to the New England states and Massachusetts. That's really where any good snowfall occurs on the Canadian model runs. So I have no idea. I can just generally tell you what the possibilities are, which is just keep an eye on it. Really, if you're anywhere along the eastern U.S., just watch it, because even though models right now are on a downtrend, there's plenty of time for them to uptrend. This has happened in previous setups where we go from literally expecting little to no snowfall in the Carolinas, and then by the time we get to day of, it's all of a sudden uptrended to a snowstorm. I'll come back, watch. Wouldn't surprise me, Sam. It really wouldn't surprise me if it comes back. This is a really good setup, but it's a fragile setup like most weather events. It is very fragile. This is really good. You don't see this too often, where you get a really well amplified, positively tilted trough with all of this cold air attached to it too. So it's really, really good. And honestly, the timing is almost perfect on these model runs. It's just some models have the moisture being a little bit too far to the south, and that's what ruins it. So if we zoom in here to the mid-Atlantic and we go to Sunday morning, you'll see almost all ensembles give us snowfall in Virginia, North Carolina, but really none of them give us a great snowstorm other than maybe Ensemble 18. Seems to be a big outlier there. So it's just a really good setup, but it seems like our moisture is a little too quick and also possibly a little bit too far to the east on some of these runs, which I don't see on the GFS at least. I don't see it being too far east on really any of the GFS runs, but I know that's what the European model run had. The European ensembles, a lot of them were too far to the east, kept that moisture offshore, and the graph model, I believe it's called, which is what meteorologists use, especially in the southern mid-Atlantic states. That also shows moisture staying offshore. Carolinas can't get snow. I mean, Western NC definitely can, and I know there was a bit of measurable snowfall late last month in North Carolina, but I know that snowstorm really stuck to Southern Virginia. It really stuck from extreme Northern NC all the way through Virginia up to Pennsylvania. So just a bunch of possibilities, y'all, and I'm really not going to tell you what's the most likely. I mean, generally, like I said earlier, I think this being a last-second snow event for coastal areas is a probable outlook and a probable scenario, but really, I wouldn't say that's even likely at this point. Anything can happen. Literally anything can happen. All I hope out of this storm is that somebody gets a snowstorm. I hope somebody gets 4+ inches of snowfall somewhere from eastern PA down through the deep south. Even if it's me, great. If it's not, I'm fine with that. I hope this storm doesn't go to waste, because it's a really good setup. Like I said, outside of maybe the moisture being too far east on a few runs and the system maybe being a little bit too quick. It's a pretty quick hitting snowstorm, honestly. Like, it starts on this model run, it starts Sunday morning and it's out of here Sunday evening. So maximum 12 hours of snowfall right there. And when you have this, possibly a lack of moisture, that just doesn't amount to very heavy snowfall totals. Maximum, you're looking at 4 inches of snowfall out of this type of setup. But if it can slow down like the GFS has, and look, this is the 0Z GFS from early this morning, and look how amplified that is and how really that low pressure just starts to strengthen. That's what will help us if we can get a low pressure to really organize. But I think the GFS 0Z was an outlier on that. You could see how our low pressure doesn't organize until it gets up here, pretty much off your screen. So that's a big problem, is our low pressure. Yes, we're going to have a low pressure, but it's not going to be organized by any means. And I mean, your whole trough really changed here from the 0Z to the 18Z. That's probably what did it. You could see how this kind of has a little bit more of a tilt to it. It's not a flat positive tilt. It goes from positive to maybe a little bit more neutral, still closer on the positive side, but a little bit close to neutral. Remember, positive is pointing to the southwest, neutral is pointing to the south, and then negative is pointing to the southeast. So we're by no means at a negative tilt, but the 0Z model was a little bit more pointing to the south, so almost a neutral tilt there. And then if you go to the new 18Z run, it is almost completely a positive tilt, if not completely a positively tilted trough there. And that just doesn't allow for much digging. And you can see it does turn into a last second negatively tilted trough. And because it's a last second negatively tilted trough, that is what helps amplify the low pressure. But it's too little too late. It's too little too late. If it was a negatively tilted trough over Dixie Alley like this, yeah, we would be talking about a kicking big snowstorm for the entire eastern U.S., but that is not the case. That is by any means not the case. And I don't think any model run has it being a negatively tilted trough. The Zero Z GFS actually might have a bit of an embedded negatively tilted trough here. You could see almost like two jet maximums in here. You got a jet max, it looks like right in here, and another jet max in here. Your main low pressure is probably located over there. Yeah, it should be located on the first. Yep. Yep, there you go. So almost like two jet streams embedded in one another right there. Which means this is a complete and utter outlier, by the way, because that's like next to impossible for the Deep South to see outside of the Gulf Coast blizzard last year. Next to impossible to see something like that. I hate forecasting winter. Tornado season is not much better. It's really not. The big difference in tornado season forecasting and winter season forecasting, in my opinion, is it seems like winter model runs are just always awful. Like in the spring, at least we can have a general idea of what's going to happen. We can generally outline an area of severe weather being possible. Sometimes even up to 7-8 days out, we can tell you generally where severe weather is likely. And with winter, it's just out the window. Like we could say, okay, there's a chance for some flurries in this area. We could say that maybe 4 days out. 4 days out, that's what you could say. But if you're anything winter forecasting wise, anything more than 4 or 5 days out, it changes so much. It's absurd. Like this is literally a 18-hour difference here. I'll show you an 18-hour difference here in our snow totals on the GFS. This is a crazy run by the GFS earlier this morning, and then 18 hours later, poof, it's just pretty much all gone. It's wild. And then like the Canadian model run too has next to nothing. The European model run has a little bit down here, and the GFS is a bit further to the northwest. The NAM model is all out across much of the mid-Atlantic. And I mean, it's just nothing agrees with each other. There's like no consistencies between any model runs. When you're forecasting severe weather, at least you could say, hey, the trough looks like this, so generally we're expecting this area to have at least an opportunity for severe weather. With this, I mean, watch how crazy these troughs vary. So, man, this is like a completely different trough. Look at the difference in that. And the timing is drastically... That is why the NAM has a snowstorm. That is why the NAM has a snowstorm, because of the timing. That is huge. The NAM at Sunday evening has your low pressure, maybe over the southeastern... Oh, okay. A little bit further to the northeast than I thought. Generally out in here, Sunday evening. Whereas the GFS has it way up in here, Sunday evening. And that is a huge difference. But not only with your low pressure, really the biggest thing is just the timing. Because like your trough, where the jet maximum is, which is right in here, that's where it is Sunday evening on the NAM. On the GFS, guess where it's moved to? Over here. I mean, that is a huge difference. That is a huge difference. Probably of about 100 plus miles there. Maybe even well more than 100 miles, actually. And then I think the Euro is kind of on the GFS side there. Yeah, the Euro is definitely more on the GFS side. So, but still, the Euro does have a bit of a snowstorm there in southern Georgia. 2 inches of snow, that is probably close to winter storm criteria, but I don't think it is. It's probably about 4. My guess is, I don't know because I don't live out here. My guess is it's probably about 4 inches of snow for a winter storm warning in this part of the country. Maybe even 3. So this is either half an inch or an inch and a half off of being a winter storm. So you're looking at a high-end advisory, low-end winter storm with that. And then again, the NAM just shows a big explosion of a winter storm everywhere. So once these hurricane hunters go in, I think it is tomorrow night. I'm not Again, I'm not 100% sure. I could just go look real quick. Go look at the public schedule from them real quick. Because once they get in, that will really help. Hurricane Hunter schedule 00Z. So that's tomorrow night. So they are forecasted to go tomorrow night and Saturday morning. Thinking of the dates. Tomorrow night and Saturday morning. That is when recon will be in the general vicinity of the low pressure. I do wonder, though, why is the NAM and the GFS so different? Huh. It's just simply slower. That's really all it is. Ah. It's because the NAM is further to the southwest on Saturday morning. So look at this contour right here. The 5760 contour. Watch where that's located. Here it is on the NAM. And on the GFS, it's honestly not horribly far off, but it is, I guess, a big enough. It's a small difference, but it's in the weather world, a small difference can literally change an entire forecast. So that small difference amounts to actually a big change. And even you can really see, like, right in here, kind of just the amplified trough changes. Like on the NAM, it looks a lot stronger and a lot more amplified. Even though it is positively tilted, it still looks more amplified to me. What about to the euro? I mean, the euro is closer, at least with how it starts. All three of these are different. Look at that. We are looking 2 days in the future, and these models are this different. The euro is kind of an in-between of the NAM and the GFS on how amplified it is, but the European is still almost in line with the GFS in terms of how fast the trough is. So, like I said, really nobody knows what's going to happen. I would just be keeping an eye on it. Don't get your hopes up, and if you're a snow lover, don't completely disregard this system. It's got a lot of potential, but it's going to take a whole lot of luck to be able to get that potential and turn it into reality. That is for sure. It's going to take a whole lot of luck. That's a big snow squall warning up there. Look at that thing. 2 of them. Big snow squall warnings up there. All right, I'm trying to think here what else I was wanting to talk about. So that's the main snow ordeal there. Just to kind of move into the future a bit more before I move into, I just remembered what I want to talk about. I do want to also note these snow squalls are going to continue across a very large chunk of the north central U.S. So that's what's giving us our scattered heavy snow across the north central plains, really for the rest of the night tonight into all day tomorrow. We're going to continue to see those snow squalls occur. And then going into Saturday, we'll see a little bit more of an amplified amount of snowfall being possible there across the northeastern U.S. I don't think it will be a snowstorm, but I do think it will be measurable snow across many areas, especially if you are just barely west of the Appalachians, or if you are very close to coastal areas there in the New England states on Saturday. And then again, going into Sunday, that's when our uncertainty is the absolute highest. So just looking at the next couple days here, if we just go all the way till 120 hours out, that's a reasonable amount. It's about 5 days. It's not insanely far out to where it will be inaccurate, and it's not very close to the point where I can't talk about anything. You could see really the general area where our best chance for snow will be is really going to stay up through Canada. And this is pretty much almost just drew my thumbnail here. That's what I outlined, generally those areas in pink on the thumbnail. is generally that area you see here on the GFS ensembles. And then areas we also still want to watch for chances of snowfall obviously will be to the west of that. So all in this area, we'll want to just keep an eye on for an opportunity of some snow in the black, as well as back out down in here. So those are the two areas to keep an eye on for the opportunity of some snow here and here, and then the likelihood of snowfall back up in here. Now, of course, it's going to vary from location to location. Kentucky, eastern Kentucky right now, this has 2 inches of snow. However, if we have a bit different of a scenario unfold, you could end up with closer to an inch. So that's just an approximation of what we're thinking here, is just chances for snowfall across a pretty large chunk of the U.S. Anything to hit a snowstorm criteria, English, man, it would definitely be up here. It would definitely be up here in the far northern tier of the U.S. So like northern Wisconsin, Michigan, into New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio. Those areas would be the best chances. Northeastern Ohio, by the way. Those would be the best chances for snowstorm warnings. That's why on the thumbnail I didn't put like winter storm possible or winter storm likely or anything like that, because we're not looking at that. We're looking at the likelihood of some snow across a good chunk of the U.S., but most of us won't see any snow that sticks. That's really the ordeal. This is the total snow depth, and you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Really, the only snow that sticks is, again, in the far northern tier of the U.S., and then also that big uncertainty on if anyone will see any measurable snowfall in the southeastern U.S. What's my chance for snow? Honestly, Proxy, I have no idea. I think you have a much better chance for no snow than actual snow. I wouldn't expect much out of this, but I'd still keep an eye on it because we can easily see an uptrend. So, now, let's talk about tornado season. It's January 15th. We are on the lower, somewhere around 40 days. Yeah, should be somewhere around 40 days from spring. Better find out. Please tell me it's not 64 days. That can't be right. Is my math that far off? Oh my goodness, my math is that far off. 64 days? No, I refuse to believe that. January, February. That's not possible. Hold on. Aha. It's got to be for this reason. 45 days. Thank you. Meteorological spring. That's what I go off of. I don't go off of actual spring. Meteorological spring, 45 days away. I was going to say, I know I'm not that bad at math, man. I know I'm not that bad. So from tornado season, which is meteorological spring, March 1st, 45 days away. What do you think about eastern upstate South Carolina? Do you think I could get snow? I think you could get snow, but I have zero clue how much. I would keep an eye on it for a chance of snow. All right, so here is our sea surface temperatures. This is a big thing for tornado season. All right, see you later, Caleb. Gracious, that's a big thing. Yeah, please take time off, Caleb, and I hope everything goes very well there. So this is our sea surface temperature map here as of this morning. And this is based off of temperature anomalies, which is really just an easier way to see if we are above or below average, as opposed to looking at sea surface temperatures, because this uses climatology from 1981 all the way till 2010. So there's 3 key factors for tornado season, 3 key areas to watch for tornado season, and all 3 of them are very, very crucial. So I took about 3 hours this morning to research into our analogs and tornado season so far based off of what we've seen over the last 3 months, what our forecasts show from here on out. And the 3 areas you really want to watch is the 3.4 Nino area, which is generally, this is definitely not precise, but generally in that area, which you could see is quite well below average right now. Generally where your North Pacific Oscillation is, which is somewhere up in here. And then, of course, a very key big factor is this bad boy right in here, which is easily missable. The Gulf. The Gulf is a huge factor in tornado season. So we've got 3 big factors here. And really, they all point towards a pretty favorable tornado season, honestly. We are at a very well above average for our North Pacific Oscillation, which is a positive NAO. That is really, really good for tornado season. I do want to just double check this real quick. I want to see if the CPC has like a chart for this. I should have looked into this before I before I did this stream. Let's see here. Give me just a moment. I accidentally closed a few tabs here. I've got too much stuff open. Too much stuff. There's one specific link I'm looking for from the Climate Prediction Center. So, yeah, in terms of winter, you don't want a positive NAO. So that might be actually the reason why we are seeing a bit of a lull in our winter, honestly, because we do have a La Nina, but we have a positive NAO, which is not the best for winter. That is not the best for winter across especially the southern and eastern U.S. I might have to put some more research into that, see if I can find any really good sites for it. But yeah, I'm pretty sure a positive NAO does allow for a high pressure typically to build across the southeastern U.S., which we have seen countless amounts of times here in winter already. So that allows for a typically a below average winter season for the eastern and southeastern U.S. for winter. But for severe weather, that in my opinion, at least from what I can just tell from what I've looked at here, is probably going to, I want to say, increase the chance for severe weather, because if you do have a dominant high pressure across the southeastern U.S. like that, what it's going to do is it's going to help feed instability into the plains. Phone call. Get out of here. Spam. So yeah, it does lead to a below average chance for precipitation across the southeastern U.S. in April. But as you transition into spring, or rather into summer, as you go closer to June, it also increases the chance for better precipitation across the south central and central U.S. So what that ends up doing is a less active tornado season for the southeastern plains like Dixie Alley, or the plains, like I just said there, maybe Texas, Louisiana, not as active because of that high pressure. But then as you go towards maybe late May, June, July, that starts to uptick with the chances for some severe weather in the central plains. But this also depends off of this bad boy too, what this is. And this is actually a La Nina. Currently we are in a La Nina, which is actually going to kind of contradict the positive NAO that we have, because a La Nina typically ends up being a more active tornado season. Now, 2024 was actually a El Nino, which is really why it caught a lot of us by surprise, because 2024 was supposed to be a bit above average, but not like a historic above average tornado season like it was. I believe it had the second most tornadoes in the last couple decades, just behind 2004. If I'm not mistaken, 2004 was the only year above 2024 that had the most tornadoes in a given year. So I have to put some more research into this NAO, because it's going to be harder for me to really tell you what's going to happen if I haven't researched it the best. So, but really the most difficult part about the NAO is that it changes a lot more frequently than our ENSO. So it is actually quite a bit more unpredictable, which is why it's not great for very long-term forecasting like the ENSO is, which is why I didn't mention it as much in my winter forecast, and especially not in my hurricane season forecast, because your NAO doesn't matter as much for hurricane season as it does for tornado season. So right now we are in more of a positive NAO. Man, we have been all over the place. Hold on, can I look at, let's see. This is the 7-day change. Yeah. You can see how the changes is really, it's just been all over the place. Some areas have been warming, some areas have been cooling. Really nothing too crazy for the NAO, kind of just wacky all over the place. But this is also something I want to point out, is we are warming. Now, we're not warming yet, like right in our main 3.4 area, which again is located generally around Hawaii, somewhere generally in there. So we're not warming just yet in that area, but this is definitely pointing towards a more neutral phase. So I do think we are looking at probably an average tornado season. I'll have to put more research into it. Of course I will, especially as we get closer. I'll really, really, really put more research into that that NAO, because remember, I'm still learning about the weather too. I'm not, I don't know everything about the weather by any means. So I'll put a lot of research into that too. But from what I can see, what I would expect is for this to warm more, and I would expect this map to look a little bit towards the lighter blues. I think this 3.4 Nino index will look more like the kind of like this color down in here. A bit light blue, maybe some white mixed in by the time we get to mid-spring, going towards March, the end of March into April. And then I think this positive NAO, I'll have to put, like I said, more research into it. But it looks like that's probably going to help a bit with maybe bringing back the plains. Possibly bringing back the plains for severe weather. So I'll have to see exactly like what our months look like when we get closer. Because right now we're still just under 2 months away from tornado season. A month and a half, actually, to be exact, a month and a half away. To today's date, a month and a half away. So that a lot can change with that. This is our wild card. That's our wild card. The Gulf is what's going to help push us to average, maybe slightly above average. The La Nina turning into neutral is going to help us to be average to maybe a little above average. And this NAO, that in my opinion is the wild card. That's the biggest wild card. If that stays really warm like this, it's probably going to push closer to an average season. If it cools off, that might help us push towards a more active tornado season. It just depends, because it might be a little bit too warm right now. Wow, the 14-day forecast for this thing. Gracious day, the forecast for this is insane. Has no idea. Ensemble mean outlook, that will probably help. So according to this, for the next 2 weeks, this should stay above average. It should stay as a positive NAO. Keyword is should. Yeah, and then like I said, typically with a stronger positive NAO, you have a more dominant high pressure across the southeastern U.S., and it leads to warmer a warmer couple days, couple months, depending how long that positive stays. Yeah, we've been very much flip-flopping. So we were heading towards a literally the beginning of January. According to this map, we were at a negative NAO. So we are just flip-flopping like every 2 weeks. That's probably what's giving us our crazy winter too, by the way. That's probably what's giving us our crazy winter. I'm surprised, actually, now that I look at that. I mean, there's your high pressure right there. That's your dominant southeast high pressure. So it looks like this trough's going to kick it out. Does it come back? No, I really don't see a... Oh, well, I mean, there's a high pressure, but I don't think I'd call that a dominant high pressure there. So yeah, this is the big high pressure that's been dominating the U.S. for the last couple days. It's what came in after our blast of cold air. We had a blast of cold air with this system, and so that's what's going to kind of keep our high pressure in place for the next few days past Saturday. Yeah, so this was earlier this morning, and you can see your high pressure's big high pressure all down in here, it looks like. And if we go further, there's your H for high pressure. And then our system coming in Saturday is going to knock that high pressure out for a little bit. So we've been in a high pressure for a while. We're going to change back to a more active pattern for like 2 days, being Saturday, Sunday. And then Monday, we're probably going to see another high pressure pull in until another system knocks that out going into late next week. And it almost seems like that correlates with our NAO, honestly, because our NAO... So let me tell you this, for going back to October 2025, we began October as a positive NAO, mid-October, negative, late October, positive, going into early November, negative, middle November, negative, end of November, positive, beginning of December, negative, mid-December, positive, end of December, negative, beginning of January, negative, and then middle of January, positive. So this last, like, from the middle of December to the middle of January, most of those days we were at a negative NAO, which was one of our longer negative NAO stretches in the last 3 months. Gracious day, this thing changes so much, my word. I don't know if I could share this site with you guys at all, but it's wild how much it changes. That's why I was saying it's not as reliable as Enso. This doesn't change. This takes a long time to change. I mean, we can typically see this changing like a week or even more in advance. Right now, actually, we could see it changing. We're a month out from it probably going to a neutral phase. It will probably go neutral towards the end of next month. It's just so much more reliable. It really is. This changes so frequently, but it's also very important. Both of these, all three of these areas that I've been talking about, all three of them directly correlate to our troughs here in the US, because this provides the moisture and energy for our troughs. This really helps with anything to do with troughs. And then this helps with the positioning of troughs. So all three of them are very important. The Gulf is very easy to understand, really easy. This is fairly easy, a bit more complex. This thing's just wacko. Now I know why I haven't dealt with this, because it's just wacko. Because a few sites that I've looked at says that like a positive NAO is more favorable for storms. But then I went and looked at climate.gov, and it says a positive NAO typically leads to a high pressure and a more warm southeastern and eastern U.S. So, and then a negative NAO typically leads towards a better chance for storms, and especially snowstorms if you're in winter months across the southeastern U.S. However, we're in a positive NAO. We're in a positive NAO, and we're talking about the opportunity for a snowstorm in the southeastern U.S. So it's like, man, weather. It confuses me so much sometimes. It really does. It's crazy. Yeah, I love Enzo too. Lovely Enzo. I love Enzo, honestly. Enzo phases are way easier and better to predict, and they help with long range patterns. That's the number one thing to pay attention to. So if I had to give you a flat out answer right now, today, if you asked me, what do you think for the 2026 tornado season? I would say I think it's going to be average to maybe extremely slightly above average, like just the slightest bit above average. And I would say we're probably, based off of this, assuming this goes back negative, we're going to start with Dixie Alley. Dixie Alley will be the main thing to talk about in March into April. And then assuming this goes back to the positive like it's been doing, maybe pushing towards the Central Plains and the Northern Plains lighting up in May, June, and July. We'll have to see if that holds going into February. And then, of course, my forecast will be out either... I might aim for it to be out like early March, sometime the first week of March, or the last week of February. But that's going to do it for today's live stream. I've got 10 seconds to close this out, so I appreciate all you guys for tuning in. I don't know when the next live stream or video will be, since there's a lot of inactivity. So I appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Pete, Catman, Legacy, and Caleb for modding chat. Plenty of mods in the chat today. I really appreciate that. And NC Snow is possible. There's just a lot of uncertainty. Also, just in case you guys were wondering, for my analogs that I found earlier today, Catman can look into this if he wants, because I know he's big on weather, so he probably will. But 2009, 2017, and 2025 were all analog matches from research I did earlier today. None of them matched perfectly. The one that probably matched the best was probably 2017, matched pretty well. But 2009, 2017, and 2025 are all the three analogs I've been looking at. And yeah, and then I'll use all those analogs. I'll compare it to the real-time data in late February, early March. And then that is how I will give you my tornado season forecast. So it's possible. Snow is also possible in central Georgia. I wouldn't expect much. I really wouldn't. Keep your expectations low, very, very low. So that way you're not disappointed when nothing happens, because it's a good setup, but it's going to take still the right timing and the right positioning for that low pressure to get a snowstorm. So outro music will be cut short because I'm yapping. So I appreciate all you guys for tuning in. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you when I see you. Maybe a live stream on Saturday to talk about this if I have time, because Saturday will be a lot more data, so we'll see. But I'll just keep you guys posted on that. If you don't hear from the community posts, then that means probably not. But if I say I will be live in those community posts, I'll be live. So I'll catch you in the next live stream or video that I do. Have a great rest of your Thursday night. Goodbye. That was way too quick. Stay safe, watch for your weather and the snowfall, and I'll see you guys in the next live streamer video.